It's fixing to get real nerdy, so bear with me. Alright, so here's the plan. I'm going to do a little scientific experiment. I tested my arrow spin out of my my VXR, 28-inch VXR the other day. My arrows, they want to naturally spin left. Did the test with no fletchings, just a bare shaft from like 5 steps away, and my arrow went left every time. Well, I'm always shooting right helical arrows, so I thought that didn't make a lot of sense. So I thought, well, I'm going to try some left helical arrows just to see if they do any better. And I fletched these out of my Grayling jig. You can see the left helicals are orange and an American flag as my my up arrow every time. These are my right helicals that I've been shooting. They're American flag and they're white with Don't Tread on Me blazers, and I'm doing blazers on all these 2-inch blazers. And then I thought, well, why not just go ahead and check the straight fletch? So straight fletch are orange and white. And what I wanted to do is truly collect some data on these to see which one groups the best. So here's the plan for this, how we're going to do this. We're going to shoot 3 groups of 3 arrows, check the average. So for example, I'll shoot the right helical, I'll shoot all 3 arrows, I'll take a break. I'll time that break probably 2 minutes, 3 minutes, just to make sure I'm not getting fatigued by the time we get to the end. And then I'll shoot the 3 straight fletchings. Again, we're going to measure these, find the average diameter of our group. We'll record that on the paper, right helical, left helical, straight. Take another break, time it with my phone, then I'm going to shoot the left helical. Same thing. 3 arrows, measure the group with tape. Write down the diameter. We'll get an average off of each one of these. That'll kind of delete, that'll take away any flyers that you might have by the time you average that out. That'll be very minuscule when you average that out after 3 groups. So that's the plan. We're going to do that at 20 yards, and then we're going to maybe do 30, and then we're going to do like 50. And the reason for that is my theory on this is at 20 yards, I don't think you're going to see much difference. I think they're going to be relatively the same. You may even, like the straight may be the best at 20 yards. But I think as you move back further, especially to 50 and 60, that's when you're going to see those flaws on each arrow. So if the left is spinning too fast or too much or over spinning it, or if the right's fighting it, you know, when it's wanting to go left and it's fighting too much with the right, or if the left doesn't, or if the straight ones don't give it any stability at all, I think you'll notice that at 50 way more than you're going to notice it at 20. So we'll do the same routine at 50. Shoot, take a break, measure, shoot, take a break, measure, shoot, take a break, measure, and then we'll go in reverse order. So we'll go right helical straight, left helical, and then we'll go left helical straight, right helical, and we'll just work back and forth so that we don't that the left helical isn't the last one shot every time. Then we'll look at all that data and we'll go, this particular bow, which shoots a left, it wants to naturally spin the arrow left, which apparently 90% of bows do that because of the way the string is spun. And this is just the stock zebra string that comes on a Matthews VXR and a V3, I think, as well. So this is just going to see what mine wants to shoot, and then it'll determine how I fletch my arrows for the rest of the year. So let's get started. Hey Siri, set a timer for 2 minutes.
2 minutes, starting now.
All right, let's go see how we did. I'm dialing in a new HHA Tetra sight, so my sight tape isn't perfect just yet. So we may be a little off the dots we're aiming at, but we're focusing on the group, so I don't think that'll change a whole lot. So let's get started on this. It'll be the left helical straight, then right helical. All right, second round. That one went all the way through the bag. Hopefully it's salvageable. Have to refletch that one. The straight seems to have the better group, although this one's got a pretty good group too, touching. So hopefully I don't have to refletch them. Let's get our measurements. And 3/4. Hey Siri, set a timer for 2 minutes. The left helicals did a little something crazy. This one kind of coming in weird. It didn't go in as far as the others for some reason, so it's kind of sagging. And we had a sinker down here. The straight just stacked on top of each other. The right's got a decent grouping. Just observation, I'd say the center or straight fletching helical. Straight. All right, so here's the data from the 20-yard shoot. I added the groupings up, the measurements from the groupings up, and divided them by 3 to get the average in inches grouping. So you can see the right helical averaged at 6.08 inches, the left helical averaged at 6.02 inches, and the straight helicals averaged 4.08 inches. Straight was a little better. These two pretty much, not, insignificant difference. And would this repeat over and over? It seemed to. If you look at the baseline here, it was always lower than the others. But the question is, at long range, as we start backing up, and we're going to go to 30 here in a little bit, will the straight helical hold the arrow in flight and keep it balanced and keep the arrow stable for long distance? At straight distance, at short distance, the straight does a good job. It's a dart, it flies true, they group well. My theory is, as we back on up to 30 and then 50, we're going to see the straight fall apart as it flies through the air. Whereas the right, I think, past 20, or the right and left, past 20, you're going to see it recover and the helical on it balance it out and hold it together for that longer flight. We'll see. That's the theory. So now we're going to do 2 groups at 30 and then check those averages. Starting to right helical, pretty good group. Left straight, still pretty good. Left helical, not bad. One little kicker, little flyer. Let's measure them and get them entered into the data. Straight helical. Fatigue's starting to set in. I did shoot a ASA round this morning, so a little bit fatigued after all this too. Left helical, straight, right helical. Straight still looks good. Right helical, not bad. Let's see what we get. Straight. All right, so 30 yards, right helical 8.5 was the average, it's inches. Left helical 10.37, which is big group average. And then straight was very consistent and average at 7.13. So they all went up, but right helical went up the least. So you can see a 4-inch increase, you can see a 3-inch increase. So when you get out to 50, I'm afraid you're going to see really big groups out of left helical and really big groups out of straight. But I think right helical will balance out and not have as big of a group out there. I think it's going to hold tight. That's what my hypothesis. But you can kind of see my averages on these groups, and yes, fatigue's a big factor. You can see it went from 8 to 12, 6 to 10, but straight still stayed relatively the same. So fatigue is playing a factor, but it should play a factor across the board. Now we'll try 50. First round of straight fletch at 50. These two are touching. None. Round 2 straight fletch. Looks pretty good, surprisingly. The results are in. It's fixing to get real nerdy, so bear with me. But on average, the right helical stayed the tightest group at the farther away you got. So when you start off at close range, the straight on average held the tightest groups, and the right and left helical were just slightly bigger, really close to the same, like statistically no difference. Then you back up to 30 yards, left helical got a little bigger, right helical grew by 2 inches, left helical grew by 4 inches, straight grew 3 inches. So they all of their diameters got a little bigger. The straight grew 3 inches as opposed to the right growing 2. So right performed an inch worse in diameter, but only got bigger by 2 inches. And so what that appears to have done is when you go stretch that on out to 50, where you think they're going to get even bigger, the right helical was at 10 on average, the left helical at 11.12 on average, so a little bit bigger on the left helical, and the straight blew up to 14 on average. And that's actually taking out one group that I'd shot, that there was, I just feel like there's too much human error into it, too much pulling one way or the other, not enough rest, however you want to word it, and it would have been even bigger. So we got rid of that one, and it brought it down. But even when you look at the numbers, they're statistically in the same pattern, and they're statistically bigger than the the right and left helical. So I don't think you could say, well, that's just human error. They were shot in order, then in reverse order with rest in between. The straight average diameters or diameters for the straight fletching are 16, 17, 11.75. So the last group of straight fletching was the best group. So I don't know that fatigue or human error would play a whole lot of a role in that. Whereas right helical, left helical stayed consistent pretty much the whole time. Left helical 15, 19.75, 12.5. Right helical 10.75, 11.5, 8.5. So what I'm kind of seeing, what my hypothesis is, that if you're close, if you're going to be shooting like deer kill shots, 20, 30, maybe 40 yards, straight fletching will do fine. It's going to fly like a dart. But when you start getting into those really long ones where you're basically having to arch the arrow in, and you need it to stay stable in flight, you need a little bit of helical, right or left. And you would think left helical would perform better because my arrow spins left as it comes off. I think the reason it doesn't is because it spins too fast. When the arrow comes off the launch pad and it's already turning left, and then the helicals are turning left, I think it overspins. And when it overspins, it's not stable. So you get a little bit of a drift on it when it's spinning too fast. Whereas the right helical, I think when it comes out, it balances it out a little bit because it wants to go left, so it slowly turns left and then it starts turning right again. So you don't get the overspin as you kind of counteracting the right and left spin of the arrow. Left helical, I think, is overspinning. I don't have the slow motion cameras to check that, but that's my theory. And then straight, of course, there's just nothing to keep it turning and spinning in balance, so it's just kind of floating through the air like an airplane, but it's not balanced like an airplane. So anyway, in other words, I got to take all the fletchings off these 6 arrows and fletch them with a right helical because they're going to hold up better down long distance.